Our first featured speaker is someone that has done exactly that. It is an honor for me to bring up Bryan Stevenson. His change began with a choice, and it circles all the way back to an SLC experience, which is why I can say with conviction, it can be a game changer and a life changer for you. He's our Southern Tide in SEC DVM, really has emerged as a star. 12 years he's been in the business. He began in Jackson, Mississippi, and that was in 2004. A few years later, in 2007, he was promoted to DM, and he went to Birmingham, Alabama. Later on, he moved back to Jackson. But here's the interesting part of the story, and where it begins to get textured and inspiring. By 2012, things really weren't going particularly well for Bryan. After a summer that he had where it really didn't measure up to the expectations that he had going in, maybe some of you can relate to that, he showed up to this very event in October of 2012 with real serious questions about his future. His office wasn't in great shape. He didn't have the answers. He really couldn't see a way as to how to rally. And he describes his office. He had 2 receptionists. His sister worked with him part-time, and that was his office. And he says that it wasn't that I wasn't going to work, but we lacked culture in my office. I was just going through the motions. And he describes being at that SLC. And he went to the final session. This would be on Friday. And he went back into the corner of the room. He didn't even sit with his team. He's in the corner of the room, and the one and only Earl Kelly was the wrap-up speaker. It was in Dallas. It was at SLC there. And as Bryan sat in the back corner of that room, he said, the words Earl said, it was like he was looking right at me, as far back as that was. And one of the things he remembers that Earl said was, if you don't fix yourself now, grow yourself now, these habits that you have are going to follow you to your next career. And that really, really affected Bryan deep down. It hit home. And he concluded that if I'm going to leave, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to be ahead. I'm going to be in it for the next year. And he went home and he told his then girlfriend, his future wife, Elizabeth, that he was going to go for it. And he set about doing that. It didn't start fast right away. He started reaching out to successful people around the company. He started calling managers who were doing well. Every week, he talked to his region manager, Lloyd Reagan, about the business. The next summer, he went from $162,000, which he had done in 2012, to over $500,000. That was just a short 7 months later, and he's never looked back. He started adding quality people to his team and around him. He says that he had so much positive pressure to do well because he had an AM team, a great staff, and he felt like he had to deliver for them. Today, he's one of the most successful managers that we have in the entire company. In 2015, he moved back to Birmingham a second time to take over the Southern Tide division. He has built that division quickly and powerfully. His very first year there, he set the all-time record for that territory. He repeated the feat this year. In his pilot office, he broke the all-time company record for new business in Campaign 1 this very year. $344,000 plus in new business in Birmingham. Never been done before. It's currently the #2 pilot office for new business in North America, surrounded by a great team of new district managers in Southern Tide, some veterans, accomplished veterans in SEC. He did end up marrying Elizabeth, whom he met through the business, and she's a sales star in her own right and an amazing partner to Bryan. What I love about their story is she was there from the beginning. She was there for the top ramen days and all the kind of stuff, the struggles, before he reach the top. Where you are in your career right now isn't who you will be as a leader, and it certainly does not reflect your potential. It doesn't mean that's where you're going to be a year from now. So let's get this thing going. It's my privilege to bring up the man who's going to help us level up, Mr. Brian Stephenson. Brian?
All right. Thank you, Drew, for just pointing out to me that I'm sandwiched in between you and Bruce. I want to hear about pressure. All you guys got to do is run interviews and run training. I got to give a talk between you two. So, well, like Bruce said, 2012 wasn't great, and one of the things that really changed for me was reaching out to the greats in the business, the Drew Franks, and the Brian Hurlmans, the Matt Kings, but the thing that really made the difference was time with my RM, with Lloyd, and building that relationship. And I remember asking him, what's the one thing that I can do right now? What's the one thing that can impact my business the most? I feel like I'm here all the time. I feel like I'm working 70 and 80 hours a week, which probably wasn't the case, but that's how it felt. I wasn't having fun. There wasn't culture. It didn't feel like we were building anything. And that's where we really talked about the AM program, and it evolved into the 7 AM program. And I'm proud to say that since that time, we've had 7 AMs or more on pay every campaign since the fall of 2000 or spring of 2013. And throughout that time, what I've figured out, most managers, they know how to get the AMs. They don't know how to execute once they have the AMs. They don't know how to manage them. So that's the first thing that I'm going to dive into today is 7 AMs on pay year round. And the promotion of the 7 AM program, it starts in the interview. I've had so many people ask me, when do you start promoting that? When do you start targeting people? And I'm going to give an example of that in just a second. But in the interview, when I moved back to Birmingham, I had 1 assistant manager, and we had to build 7, and we had to build them quickly. And it goes from the interview to training to first weekend PDI, throughout their fast start, and finally their napkin talk, and then consistently each week in the team meeting. But the goal is you need to fill your assistant staff before you fill your MITs. And you need to fill your assistant staff before you really do anything else, right? And if you have 7 assistant managers on your team, or 7 reps on your team, then you should have 7 assistant managers on your team. You can always level up, right, or replace them once you get more qualified people. But in the number one assistant manager, or number one role of an assistant manager is personal sales. That's their number one job, is to lead through the sales rank. And it's our job to hold them accountable to this. I think the common mistake that most managers make is they promote them to assistant managers. They have them start running interviews. They have them start doing PDI and PCs and training. They lend over training to them, right? And they stop developing them. They stop coaching them. They stop getting them good at being a rep. And they're still reps. They still need PCs and PDI, and they still need to be developed. The standard should be 500 CPO per week if you're a new manager or you're new to the AM program, but it should eventually lead to where they're selling $1,000 a week is where it should lead. They complete a field training in our office, and then they go on a reverse field training, right? But if you have 7 assistant managers in your office and they're doing $500 a week, you have a $3,500 base camp before you do anything else, before you focus on training and your top 5 reps. That's $182,000 in sales that you're adding to your office just from their personal sales, not counting the sales they add when they are calling PRs and doing phone jams and things of that nature. So personal sales, that's really important, and it should get to the point where your office is doing $20,000 a month in personal sales, but this is a start. The second thing is, and by the way, this is the PC here. right? It's like a quick scheduling piece, and I think this is something you should run with them every single week. Every week. I had a rep that came into my office from another office, and he was about $130,000 in sales, and we had our first PC, and once we were done, I was like, all right, we need to schedule your next PC, and he goes, oh no, we've already done our PC for the campaign. What do you mean I have to do another one, right? And I think that's the mistake that a lot of us make. And they need to be PC'd every week with a schedule, with their phone time in there, their demo slots in there, their class schedule, right? If we're going to teach them how to manage their time, we need to show them how to do that. And then are we checking their recs? So many times we feel like they don't want to sell because they're lazy or they don't want to work, and most of the times they just don't have people to call, right? So we need to make sure we're doing this scheduling PC with them each week, and they have a structured schedule. And that's what most reps want. They want structure, so we need to give it to them. And then after each PC, you need to ask them for PRs. My Dom's been with us for 3 years, and I still ask him for PRs. He has a personal PR in training right now. They're never too old in the business to get PRs. The second thing is personal recruiting. The single most impactful thing an assistant manager can do for your office outside of personal sales is PRs. They should be scheduling 6 PRs a week. That's going to get you an extra 42 PRs scheduled a week. By the way, that's unpaid. You're not paying for that like you would if you were paying out receptionist pay. That's an extra 3,000 CPO generated per week just from your assistant managers. That's another $156,000 in sales. As you can see how much business this is adding just from the 7 a.m. Program, right? Next is phone jams. I think this is the most important demo generating activity that your assistant managers can do. And in the summer, we have them run 2 phone jams a week. In the non-summer, we have them run 1 phone jam a week. And whether people show up or not, this is mainly the phone jam for the assistant managers to book more demos, by the way. But the objective is to get 3 demos ahead booked from this phone jam, right? This is going to add another $4,200 a week to your office just from the extra demos that you're getting, right? So before you do anything as a manager, before you do anything with training or pop out of training or first weekend pop or, focusing on your fast orders or your top 5, you're getting, close to $560,000 in business every year from just your assistant managers. This is how we're going to have district managers getting to $1 million year in and year out, right? The thing is, though, is you have to have these assistant managers on pay, and you have to make sure their pay is withheld. All of our AM's pay is withheld. Half the time, they don't even know how much they're making each week off the office because they're selling. Right? They're making enough money off their personal sales, and they're not looking at their AM pay. But that's why you got to make sure they have a structured schedule. That way you don't have them in the office 40 hours a week. They have to have balance. They have to have enough time to sell, work in the office, around school in the fall and the spring. So that's why it's so important to get them PC, right? And then obviously as a veteran office, you can add things like the U+2 program where they're running their own team, they're running interviews and taking PDI. But the first thing they should be doing is not running an interview, right? The first thing they should be doing is, learning how to pass out a flyer, right? Or learning how to make a PR call and generate touches, right? If you have an assistant manager that can generate touches and get kids in the seats and then they can drive demos, they're a manager. That's what managers do. That's our job. So if we can teach them how to generate touches and generate demos, they're going to be a great manager, right? You also need to make sure you have a development list, right? And this is more on the PR program, this slide here, but you need to make sure you have a development list, right? I think I went past that there, or may have skipped it. But anyways, you got to have a development list. And it needs to be a running list. And this can be on a sheet of paper, it can be on a computer, right? But you got to have a development list, right? So this is how it all starts, right? So this is our whiteboard in our interview room. If you don't have an assistant manager program right now or you don't have 7 AMs, what I would encourage you to do is on your interview board, write district manager, sales manager, right? Lead assistant or assistant manager. And it doesn't matter if there's not a name up under there, right? Because in the interview, what you're going to do is you're going to go, by the way, we're not necessarily looking for customer sales and service reps. We're looking for assistant managers as well. For our organization to operate at a high level, we have to have 7 assistant managers on staff at all times. So if you're hired, right, those will be things that will be there'll be options for you. We do the same thing in training. We do the same thing in team meetings until every single position has a name up under it. Every title has a name up under it. And then we start building our MIT program, right? And this is your development list here, right? So as you can see, we have our, DOM, category. We have our summer AMs, which is like 19 now, right? Now some of you go, how early is it to put someone on there? In the interview, in training, right? You always take them off if it doesn't work out, but how early are you targeting them? It should be in the interview. It should be in training. It should be first weekend, right? You should have a branch manager candidate list, a district candidate list. And this is something you should send to your DVM every week. This is something as a district manager I sent to Mark every week. It's something I consistently send to Lloyd now as a DVM because I want my DVM to influence them. I want him to help me develop them. I want him to help me hold me accountable. And by the way, your DVM is going to love this because he wants to know what the development pool looks like as well. But the reason you need to make sure you're always targeting, the reason you make sure you always have a big, large pipeline is because even when you're putting out double-digit management candidates, you don't want to put out 8 managers and then you don't have an assistant staff. So we put out 14 managers last summer from our office, and we still had 8 assistant managers for the summer. So obviously that's where you want it to get to. So you're putting out double-digit development, and you still have a large staff for the summer. The next program I want to talk about is our PR program. And the thing I'll tell you about our PR program, it's not what we're doing, right? It's how we're doing it. And Brian Hurlman talked about this last year. It's all about the culture. It's all about the culture. If you came and watched our office, you're not going to be mind blown. Your head's not going to explode. You're just going to see that they just do it. They just focus on it. And it's a culture. So, the way we think is we're head coaches, and we're trying to build a championship program. And we want to go out there and find the recruits that we want. So it's not so much about rep-driven, traditional, steroid PR program. It's more so that we just focus on it every single day. So from the last day of training, we ask for PR names, just like a rep would for a customer to get into the right neighborhoods. So on our board, after they get done writing down names, we ask them, who do you know that goes to, and then we go through our top colleges. Who do you know that is in this fraternity? Who do you know that goes to this high school? And we run through every single one of them, right? That way we're always getting into our best networks, right? After training, myself, my DOM, my sales manager, my lead assistant, we qualify these PR names. My DOM gets the top 25, my sales manager gets 25 through 50, and lead assistant 50 through 75. Right? Now, this is a program that we use in our division and in our pilot. This is not necessarily something I'm telling you to go do. This is something that would maybe run by your RM. But what we do is we call them after they hit their first promotion. That way there's proof of profit. This really helps with efficiency. It also forces us to make sure we're getting good first weekend pop. And we're consistently getting 1,700 to 2,000 a week from training. So how does this work? On Monday, right? Monday, we are in advanced training. We'll do rep-driven for the first hour. My DOM will take the number 1 rep from training, my sales manager number 2, lead assistant number 3, and we'll do rep-driven for the first 30 minutes to an hour, and everybody else is making phone calls. We normally get 2 or 3 reps booked from there. Our focus is the top 5. Their top 5 friends that are their best friends, their closest friends. Not necessarily who they think is going to sell them, it's their closest friends. Because we're going to get better efficiency that way. It's just like Drew talks about top 5 from training. These are your top 5 PRs. Once they come in, they go out and pop, then that person feels more confident in the program, and then they want to give you more PR names because they see how easy it is. After that, my lead assistant and sales manager will tail off out of advanced training, and they'll start calling the rest of their list. We'll call twice, so we'll call once. If they don't answer, we hang up, call right back, so we'll double tap. And if they don't answer then we'll shoot them a text to see if they're interested in setting up an interview, right? On Tuesday, it's more of a traditional calling day. We reorganize our leads, by the way. So Tuesday morning, I'll sit down with my DOM. All right, who are our top 25 leads that we're calling today? Whose PRs are we calling? Right, so we're always targeting our best people. And then our AMs take 25 through 75. And again, more of a traditional calling day. Wednesday is the same as Tuesday. At the team meeting, if someone's not booking demos, then we'll do a rep-driven phone jam. We attack every day as if there's 0 people set for training. I can't tell you how many times that Monday and Tuesday we've had great sign days. We'll do training reminder calls on Wednesday, and they all cancel. whether it be because their parent wouldn't let them, or they saw something on the internet, or their friend negged them out, right? But because we attack every day the same way, the win the day philosophy, right? We assume that no one's set for training. Now, we do have a goal to get to 20 each week, but we assume that no one's set. And because we do that, it doesn't matter if everyone cancels from training. I can't tell you how many times we've had that happen throughout this year, but because we are attacking the day with such intentionality with our PR program, we'll sign 5 or 6 sharp kids on Wednesday. They all show up to training on Thursday, and we have a good class. Where, the old me, a lot of managers would have done, oh, man, well, next week I'm going to get it, right? There's no next week. We're going to launch people every freaking week, right? And that's the mentality that we got to operate with because we're recruiters, right? Team meeting PR recognition is important. Our people want their PR prizes. So in our office, if they have to sell $1,000 to qualify, but if they get 1 qualified PR, then they get a Yeti koozie. If they get 3, they get Ray-Bans and Costas and so forth and so on. And these kids, they get fired up for these prizes. It's awesome. We'll have a kid that'll come in and he'll go, hey, where'd my PR finish first weekend? Did I win my sunglasses? I'm like, he's at like 700. And they run in the training room and they're like, dude, get your butt on the phone, man. You got to get to $1,000. What are you doing? You're slacking. I need my sunglasses, right? I think it's important that we're also explaining to them why we want their PRs. It's an easy example for us because we're in Birmingham, but it's like, hey, we're like Nick Saban. We want to build a championship team. We want these 5-star kids just like Nick Saban. And hey, when Nick Saban talks to these recruits, you don't think he sends them those all-star games and says, hey, that wide receiver, if you want to win another championship, it'd be a lot easier if we had him. So won't you help him or help us work on him while you're there, right? And they understand why they want to get their friends and why it's important to build the team so they know their why, okay? I think it's also important that you're using your PR tracker board, right? I can't tell you how many times we've had people that are at 6, 7, 8 PRs deep, and we'll text them and say, hey man, you're at 7 PRs, 1 more and you win the Yeti cooler. Who can I call? Just send me a name. I know you're in class right now. Look to your right. Send me his name and number, right? And they're so motivated to get their PRs. I just got off the phone with my Dom. He's like, dude, I just called Jonathan Hess, and he was at lunch, and he put me on the phone with 3 of his friends. We got 3 PRs coming in today, right? How aggressive are you being with your PR program? I think it's also important that we're recognizing their pay. So one of the things we'll do at our team meeting is we recognize big paychecks, right? So we'll play this for them.
Remember the class where I touch off our ninth grade? That's what we do every single night. Dollar, bill job.
And then we recognize their big paychecks, right? And anybody that sells $300 or makes $300 or more their first weekend gets recognized. Anybody that earned $500 or more gets recognized. And there were times in the summer where we were recognizing $26,000, $27,000 in paychecks. And they were Snapchatting it out to their friends. First weekend, $1,100, managers hiring, hit me up. And these are kids that are like, what? That's real? I'm in, right? We'll tag them on Facebook. And their friends see that this is real. And they're making more money in their first week, in their first month, than they're making all summer working 40, 50 hours a week. So I think that's important as well. What we decided to do in our pilot office is simplify the programs that get us the most business. The assistant manager program, the recruiting program, and our top 5 focus. Without any systems or a process, it's very easy to not see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's easy to feel like we're not in control, but we have 100% control. There's a lot of times where we complain from week to week because this happened or that happened. The same things that are happening in your office happen in my office, in Drew Frank's office, in Brian Hurlman's office, right? But instead of complaining about it, we do something about it. Dan Cassetta gave me a great analogy the other day. It's like we're all standing outside in the rain and complaining about it. The ones who succeed, they don't complain about it. They get an umbrella or they go inside, right? So this is from a book called The 4 Disciplines of Execution by Sean Covey. And, basically, this is our win the day philosophy. Schedule 5, sign 2, sell $1,000, generate 10 demos for the next day. Those simple benchmarks. They add up to a lot week after week. The first philosophy is focus on the widely important. We're recruiters. That's our job. Our job is to recruit young professionals and teach them how to sell Cutco and develop them into leaders. And in the process, they have a life-changing opportunity, a life-changing experience, right? That's what's most important to us. I've had managers go, so y'all don't recruit big anymore. You're selective. No. Again, we're a football team. We need the walk-ons. We got to have a practice squad. We're recruiters. Feet on the street. More sample kits you got, the more you're going to sell. But we also want Heisman Trophy winners too, right? Big-time recruiting equals big-time teams. This is our team meeting every week, like clockwork, 25, 30, 46 people at our team meeting last week, right? Big-time team meetings equal big-time assistant staffs every campaign. Big-time assistant staff equals big-time development. This is our district. This is my district last year in Olean. And big-time development equals big-time houses. Thanks for the picture, Dan. Right? But you got to be focused on recruiting. Right? There's things that are urgent and there's things that are important. And whenever urgent and important headbutt, the urgent always wins. What's important, are you doing the things that move the needle? Are you scheduling your 5 sharp kids? Are you scheduling your 5 PRs? Are you driving demos for the next day? Why 10? Because 10 is going to get you 1,000 more times than not. And if you're generating $1,000 a day, 7 days a week, that's $7,000 before you launch a training class. There's no reason every office in this company shouldn't be selling $10,000 a week in new business, right? So you got to simplify the goals. If you have 2 or 3 goals, you're gonna hit those 2 or 3 goals. If you have 4 to 10, you're gonna hit 1 or 2, and if you have 11 to 20, you're not gonna hit any, right? So we gotta focus on the things that matter. Also, we got to focus on what they call the lead measure. Right? The lag measure is like I want to lose weight. So if I want to lose 30 pounds and I got up every day and go, all right, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. And that's all I focused on, I'm probably not going to lose a lot of weight. But if I got up every day and said, I'm going to exercise and I'm going to diet, right? I'm going to have far more control over my end result. So same thing. Our lag measure is we're going to sell $100,000 in new business this month and we're going to launch 30 people. But our lead measures, we're going to schedule 5 today. We're going to sign 2. That way we have 15 set for training. We're going to launch 7 out the door. And we're going to make sure we drive 10 demos every single day. So we're very intentional about how many people we sign that day and how many demos we have for the next day. You also have to keep a compelling scoreboard. People want to win. They don't want to lose. They want to win. They want to be on a championship team. Our staff knows what our scoreboard is. This is a big whiteboard in our office, and it says, schedule 5, sign 2, sell the grand, 10 demos. And if we win the day, they get to check it off. If they don't win the day, they stay till we win the day. Right? My dime called me the other day. He goes, I'm at 4. Can I go? I was like, you can. If that's how you want to run your organization, that's fine. But the pilot schedule's 5. He's like, all right, I know. And we ended up scheduling 7, right? So we always put the score on the board as well. So if we schedule 2 PRs and we've signed 1 and we've sold 800, we put that on the board. That way when another staff member comes in, they can look at the scoreboard and they know exactly what we need to do to win, right? We also have to set up a system of accountability, AKA staff meetings. It's probably one of the most important things we do each week. We have to have a weekly schedule. And here's what goes in the weekly schedule. When do the win the day activities take place? When does everything else take place? Because everything else does have to happen for the doors to stay open. We still have to run interviews. We still have to do PCs. We still have to do base pay and plan a team meeting. We have to do those things, right? They're urgent, but they're not important. What's important are the things that move the needle. And what's just as important as the weekly schedule, I feel like, is the daily to-do list, right? So each morning I get a call with my dom, and here's what I ask him. Whose PRs are we calling today, right? And who will book them, right? Without the E, right? So, rep-driven, okay? Are we booking them through rep-driven? Are we booking them through steroid? Are we booking them through traditional? Are we doing alley-oops? How is this happening, right? Have we talked to our AMs yet? When are we doing that? Right? Have they been PC'd? Have we talked to our top 5? Have they been PC'd and PDI'd? If not, when are we doing that? Right? Keeping the main thing the main thing. Also, making sure you have a sales projection. I talk to so many managers, and they're like, I need to recruit a new team. And that is important, and that's probably part of it. But you also have a team. And if you focused on them and gave them as much attention as they deserve, you'd probably be selling more. So do you take out a sheet of paper each week and do you write down, okay, here's what I can get from my staff, here's what I can get from my training class, and here's what I can get from my top 5? I'm sorry, but I find it hard to believe that if we PC'd every staff member, gave them a schedule, made sure they had phone time, and focused on them and talked to them every day, if we scheduled 5 good kids a day and signed 2, right, and launched 7 out the door with our training programs from the things you're about to hear from Drew Frank, that we can't get $1,000 ahead, and then doing the same thing with your top 5, I find it hard to believe that we can't get to 10 grand every week, every office. That's our job. It's very simple. It's to recruit and it's to create demos. But it must be done daily. You got to feed the kids, right? So if Bruce came up to me and said, Brian, how's Elizabeth? How's the kids? I was like, we're doing great. We fed them last week 5 times, which was up from last week 2 times. We're improving. He would be like, okay, child services, right? You know? Same thing with the business. You got to feed your business. You don't go to bed going, honey, did we feed the kids? I think we fed the kids. It feels like I think we did. I hope we did. Right? You don't do that. You make sure they're fed. Same thing with your business. You got to make sure it's fed. You got to feed the business. Right? Every week, every day. These are all simple processes that we can all implement immediately. Not next summer, not when the January program gets here, but now. Because summer is whenever we want it to be. Let's take the labels off of campaigns. We're not in landscaping. We don't cut grass, right? People eat and use knives year-round. So we should be just as excited about the fall and the spring as we are the summer. This is where you train your development the right way. This is where you retain your development. This is where they learn the business the right way and they go out the right way. And it's also more profitable. As you can see, the slide on the left is Drew Frank. His monthly bonus, $318,000 in new business in June. He got a $7,708 monthly bonus. In Birmingham, we sold $145,000 in January, $7,744, $36 more. Yes, right? Take the wins when I can get them, okay? He sold over $145,000 more. We made the same, right? Summer's whenever we want it to be. Summer's whenever we make it. Summer starts now. 2017 starts now, right? Like Bruce said, we're the future of this great business. And the great thing about that is the product we have is simply great. The people we have are simply great. And the process we have is simply great. All we have to do is simply take advantage of it. Thank you.